Podtoid. I'm CJ.
I'm Chris.
I'm Charlotte.
I'm Occams.
And this is episode 451. We are without Dan today, but the show will go on. And I think we have a good show for you today. We're going to talk about some bikes and knights, some mobile RPGs, and a little bit later we'll be looking at the Ubisoft Forward presentation. And speaking of Ubisoft, I'm very excited to announce this news right now at the top of our show. Thanks to the wonderful and all-around positive response to Ubisoft's decision to use the First They Came poem to sell people on Watch Dogs, I'm happy to announce that Ubisoft has hired me to rewrite the lyrics to Swing Low Sweet Chariot to sell Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Quarantine. Won't that be such a great idea?
I don't know. I haven't seen anyone tweet it lately, so I don't know how on brand it is.
You know, I was thinking of doing like a dubstep remix of Strange Fruit. To maybe sell a FIFA game, see if they pick that up.
I think if this is successful, I can talk them into marketing the next Just Dance game with Threnody for the Victims of Hiroshima. I think that is a great dance track. You know, those violent violins really sell it. There's a reference no one's going to get. I don't care. I will say I think the person who came up with that Watch Dogs idea was definitely wearing a pair of Bad Idea jeans at the time. Throwback Saturday Night Live reference. But yeah, welcome to the show. How did you guys enjoy your 2 weeks off?
I'm okay. I'm just writing down all of these references that mean nothing to me in case they come up again on another episode. So
that's good. Actually, I have them several times in this episode too. So
I'm exhausted. I'm really tired. I'm not getting enough sleep. But we're all busy, staying indoors or something. I don't know. I'm just really tired, but I'm fine. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, I'm with you on the not getting enough sleep. The problem is that my room stays way too hot for way too long, and I can't sleep when it's above 90 degrees in there, and so I have to wait for my air conditioner for about a half hour to an hour to lower the temperature down to just to the point where I can actually sleep. It's miserable and probably going to be expensive.
I just got issues of the heart, and unfortunately, I don't mean in like the romantic way. I mean in like the physical muscle that pumps the blood around your body way. But we'll see how that goes.
Charlotte, how about you?
Well, I'm attempting to change jobs, move, and change my citizenship all at the same time over the next few weeks. So that's going to go really well.
I've done the change jobs and move at the same time, but that's citizenship. I think you got me there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to talk to people. It might not be a good idea to try and do it at the same time, but it takes 6 months to process, and I don't have a whole load of time to do it, what with Brexit and stuff. So, yeah, I might start it already. I might wait a bit, but it's a lot to do at once. So, yeah, just taking a break from some things, taking a break from Twitter, which has been incredible. Playing lots of games, you know, just I find if you've got a big backlog of stuff to do, just getting on with it is kind of the solution as best you can. Often you stress about getting stuff done, and once you start chipping away at it, you feel a lot better. So yeah.
In regards to the things that you have queued up to do, your best bet is just to not ever give anyone context on why you're doing them, because when you just trot them out like that, it kind of sounds like you're on the lam. Or like you need to get away from like a murder you've committed or something. So
I mean, well, I don't know how much you know about me, Chris. Like, can you really rule those things out?
Probably not, especially since you've disappeared on Twitter as well. So it's you've gone into the witness protection program or something. But it's kind of you to pop up to do an episode of our podcast for us.
Yeah, I mean, you got to mix things up, you know.
Charlotte coming to us live from an undisclosed location.
Mm-hmm. You know, the acoustics are pretty nice for being like 20 feet underground, you know.
Occams, how have you been?
Yeah, I've been all right, man. Been all right. Just living, giving.
Loving.
Other words that end in "ivin." Thriving.
David Niven.
Playing Riven.
All right.
Stiven.
Jeremy Piven.
Watching the movie Driven.
I'm pretty sure that's a given. Oh, how do I not have a rim shot sound effect? God damn.
I like that bit in Driven where he well, we've got to do funny jokes before you can use that, CJ.
No, that's true.
I like a bit. I like a bit in Driven where he drives over the manhole cover so fast that it flies up like a frisbee, and like Stallone has to like duck it as it comes to him at something like 800 miles an hour. I like that. They're burning those Formula One cars around New York, and they've not got like helmets or oxygen tanks, but they're just going down like 10th Boulevard or whatever it's fucking called at like 700 miles an hour.
So,
I love that you remember that scene. I completely forgot about that. But yeah, that's wow.
Like I know a lot of films have car chases, but a literal Formula One car chase through like a rush hour street is something else.
Yeah.
So you guys said Driven, but my mind processed it as Drive, and I was trying to figure out where was Sylvester Stallone in the movie Drive? Why do I not remember him in that?
It would have been a much less interesting movie if he'd been in it.
Or more interesting movie.
Well, flip a coin.
Yeah.
I mean, Driven sounds like the B movie sequel, so that could still happen.
Yeah. And then the third in the trilogy, Drove.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Driven got a GameCube game. Did Drive get that? I don't think so.
I would play a Drive game just for the elevator curb stomping scene.
They've made one. It's called Hotline Miami.
Oh, okay. I do have that. I finally got the physical edition from Special Reserve Games, and it's just sitting on my shelf, not being opened, because I'm apparently that guy now. The guy who buys games and doesn't open them.
Did you all see that Mario Kart? Not Mario Kart, that Mario cartridge that got sold at auction for $114,000, I think it was.
I did see that.
Yeah.
I really hope whoever bought that just like opened it and played it straight away.
That'd be great.
Just someone who just does not give a fuck about money. Just,
And then they took that little cardboard hook that you put it on the shelf with, and they're like, I don't need this, and just ripped it off and threw it in the bin.
Well, as you know, the only way you can play the original Super Mario Brothers is with one of those original cartridges. So, I mean, there's no other way to get your hands on that game.
I think companies need to start re-releasing video games.
I don't know. That sounds like something people would not be interested in.
No? Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, before we get into the show, I wanted to start us off with a story out of Japan. As you guys know, many parts of the world are starting to reopen from their COVID lockdowns, and many are doing so with new stipulations in place. This includes theme parks. Now, here in the US, Disney World has reopened for some fucking reason, but parks are also opening in Japan, and at the Fuji-Q Highland Amusement Park near Tokyo, park staff have a small request for visitors. Please scream inside your heart. Because we all know the easiest way to spread COVID is with the droplets in your breath. The park is asking people who ride its rides not to scream when they're going through all of the loop-de-loops and big-ass drops, but instead hold that fear inside and scream into your heart. Now, Chris, I know you're an expert about screaming into your heart.
Especially at the moment, yeah.
Yes.
My heart's screaming.
I don't think I could do that.
I love the idea of just a roller coaster with all these completely straight-faced people on it, just casual as fuck. And then when you come and you get the photo at the end, it's just everyone just looks really dour.
Well, some people have found the request to be unrealistic, but to prove it can be done, the park released a video of two men riding their premier roller coaster at the park without showing even the slightest bit of emotion. They're riding that roller coaster with the same level of enthusiasm that I have when I have to watch my youngest nephew ride one of those quarter-powered horses outside of a Kmart.
Yeah, I mean, it depends because, like, I'm thinking of when I went on Space Mountain in Disneyland Paris. I think it's called Space Mountain. Basically, if for anybody who doesn't know, Space Mountain is mostly just one big ramp up, and then it shoots down, and then it doesn't really do a whole lot else. It's mostly about that big drop. So if you, if you go on it once or twice, you know what's coming, and then the suspense is ruined. So I bet they just went round it like 10 times, and then they were used to it.
Shout out to Ric Flair's dick, which is also Space Mountain.
What?
Is it? What?
Yeah, like in the territories back in the 80s when Ric Flair was cutting his like loud brash promos, he was always like, and you're gonna get a ride on Space Mountain, and he was basically meant he was gonna fuck you.
Okay, let me add that to my list of references I have to look up now.
That's great.
Uh,
I miss the '80s for like promo for wrestling. Those were really good. Like you could tell who was drunk or who was on Benzedrine or who was just out of their fucking mind and who didn't know what they were doing.
So all of them, yeah, all of them all the time.
Yeah.
Do you guys think you could be completely silent on a roller coaster?
Yes, if the health of other people was at stake, because I'm not selfish.
All right, I'm going to say yes and no. Yes, because of what Chris said. No, if I'm completely naked on the roller coaster.
Okay, well, I don't know if any theme parks are having their nude days anymore until COVID's completely gone. So you may have to wait a while on that one.
CJ, I've got a question.
Yeah.
I'll answer it. Are you at these theme parks that they've reopened, like Disney? Are you allowed to go near the performers, like the people in the costumes? And
So, from what I've read, you are able to get somewhat close to them, but like there's no hugging anymore.
Right.
I think they're just doing pictures.
I appreciate that. Like, I guess it's probably cheaper to go at the moment. I'm going to guess, maybe not. I've not looked into this, but I do think it's really odd that if you were planning to like get the time and get the money and get everyone together and travel and take the risks and go somewhere, that you'd do all of that to go to Disneyland when basically you can't do most of the Disneyland stuff.
Well, you can still
I think
ride
it's
the
odd.
rides.
Yeah, but as long as you don't fucking smile.
Oh no, none of those restrictions are in place here in America. We don't take COVID seriously, but like I do get what you're saying though, because a lot of the Disney magic is no longer there.
If I can't meet Maleficent, I'm not going. It's that simple.
You know, I saw the some footage of when the Disney, I guess the one in Florida reopened, and you know everybody's wearing a mask and walking around, and there wasn't like social distancing. It's just not gonna do that. But like, I don't know why you would go to Disney World. You have to wear a mask. It's 1,000 degrees. You're in Florida. There's like all these restrictions. Why go? How is that gonna be fun at all? Like so many other things you could do with your time than just have to wear that fucking mask and walk around at like a 60% of the fun you would normally have. Like, is it that important to go? I don't get it.
I think some of the people who are going are season pass holders. So they're the ones who have been complaining the loudest about not being able to go. And I'm sure they're probably enjoying being there in the middle of the summer when there's reduced capacity there. So there's not as long lines, not as many people to walk around, not as many strollers being driven into your ankles by asshole parents who don't know what they're doing. You know, the typical Disney World experience.
You were supposed to go this year, weren't you?
Yes, we were. Yes, my whole family was going to do a week-long trip to Disney World. Our first time going, and nope, not anymore. So maybe next year, or not. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Maybe 2027 will finally be the year where it'll be safe to go. But
you can go in 2027 just in time for like the Frozen 9 ride that's opened up.
You know, I went to Disney World 91, 92 maybe. Some highlights. I met Raphael, the Ninja Turtle. Got his autograph on a hat. So just putting that out there. I got to go on the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ride, which was still one of my favorite experiences ever, which says a lot about my life. Yeah. There's actually a really good YouTube video about that and has the full ride. It was great. And I got to pose on the cover of like Wrestling Magazine, where there's like a glamour shots, but for kids. So instead of having like your titties out, you just like dress up in a costume and hold a bat. And so I got to do that. I still have that somewhere. And yeah, that was a fun experience. But I don't have any desire to go back to Disney World. So I would like to try the Halloween Horror Nights in Universal Studios. I think that would be fun.
I really want to go back to Disneyland Paris. I've never been to the US. I've never been outside of Europe, but I went to Disneyland Paris with my family when I was 14, and it was really, really good. I'm not a huge fan of I've not been to a huge amount of theme parks though, so it might be that I've not got a lot to compare it with, but it was a whole lot of fun. And also where I learned that oh God, this is going to make me sound really xenophobic, but German men can put away a lot of pancakes at breakfast buffet.
You xenophobic person. You, Charlotte, let me take you to like Alabama and I will show you horrors you have never known existed.
We have these things in America called Waffle Houses, and they are basically a Ripley's Believe It or Not restaurant of can you believe what these people are eating and how much of it they are eating. Also,
Fantastic.
afterwards, you can get in a knife fight in the parking lot. So,
Bonus.
I will say, growing up, we went to Disneyland a lot, and my absolute favorite memory of going to Disneyland is we were walking up on Sleeping Beauty's castle, which is the centerpiece of every Disney park, and out walks Darkwing Duck, walks right past us. When we say, "Hey, Darkwing Duck," he literally blows us off to walk to the backstage area. So I don't know what a child did to him when they were doing pictures, or what management did to him, but Darkwing Duck was very mad and did not want to be seen by anyone. And of all the memories I have of Disneyland, that is my favorite. Just an angry costumed person.
Was a 23-year-old kid who just really wanted a cigarette and to be left alone. That's what that is.
This is Podtoid.
Oh, man. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get talking about games, and I guess I'll go ahead and start us off. I just wanted to touch on something real quick that I found out over the past several weeks of quarantine. So for Destructoid, I try to cover mobile game news as much as I can. I do reviews, announcements, etc. Because while I know a lot of people on our site hate mobile gaming, specifically free-to-play mobile gaming, I'm more than willing to give it a shot. And I still am for most genres of games. But I think 2020 has forced me to rethink the free-to-play mobile RPG. Since I've been writing for this site, I've tried to argue that these types of games are like fine to play in short bursts, so long as you don't see yourself getting addicted and sinking a bunch of money into them. And in the past, I've played some of these games like Final Fantasy Brave Exvius and Skylanders Ring of Heroes just fine on my lunch breaks or on the train to work. The problem is I don't go to work anymore. COVID-19 has me working from home, where I have many, many more options available for gaming just beyond my phone. And so, like, for the past few months, I've been trying to get into these mobile RPGs, and they're just not taken anymore. Like, without the facade of a workplace to excuse their design, I'm just looking at games like the Dragon Quest, The Stars, Yoko Taro's, Sino Alice, and then the recently released Tales of Crestoria, and I'm kind of just seeing bullshit. Like, I'm finally seeing these games that the way all the people who complain about me writing about them on our site see them. Because I boot them up and I just see all this different crafting material, all these different systems I have to consider, all of these long, drawn-out pieces of exposition that aren't very interesting. Oh, really, protagonist of Tales of Crestoria? You want to help out the orphans? God, haven't heard that one before. And I just realized I don't have to settle for that anymore. And I probably won't have to for some time because of how bad California and America has fucked up the COVID response. My job basically has me working from home in perpetuity. And so I can't with these games anymore. I can't fake the enthusiasm. And I don't think it's all free-to-play mobile RPGs. It's just all of these ones that follow the same design of where it's just this long, drawn-out, rambling scene of dialogue. And then you have these 3 battles in succession, and then it's these long, rambling scenes of dialogue. I know that a lot of these developers and localizers are really proud of all of the world building they're doing in their games, but god damn, I just can't do it anymore. I can't stand it. I'm still doing other games for mobile, like I'm still digging Pokemon Cafe Mix, and I'm probably gonna try out that Nier game just because it looks good. But I think 2020 has effectively killed my interest in the free-to-play mobile RPG.
Well, I don't think I know anyone who fought the good fight as long as you did, so I at least appreciate that. Like no one can say you didn't try.
That's true. And I still like other mobile games, especially the fully priced mobile games. I should have a review of not a recent one, but one that completely passed us by, going up, knock on wood, Sunday, Monday at the latest. But yeah, just these free to play mobile RPGs are just, I can't do it anymore. Can't, not going to do it. Wouldn't be prudent. So.
Who was that for?
No one. That reference is for nobody but me.
This list, I'm writing these references down. I'm going to get another fucking sheet of paper in a minute.
Let's go ahead and move on. Chris, you have anything this week?
I don't have anything this week, but I might have a absolute gem for you next week.
Okay.
Because I've picked up off eBay for the grand total of £1, with £1.50 shipping, Rambo the video game.
Oh, God, yes.
Nice.
Nice.
So I rewatched First Blood and Rambo First Blood Part 2 over the last week, and I was like, they made that game that Destructoid gave 1 out of 10 to. And I was like, I'm going to play that game. So I went on Steam, and you can't get it anymore. Like, I've actually delisted it. So I went on eBay, and I found a copy for £1. I was like, I'll have it. But also, it's been a long time since I've watched First Blood and First Blood Part 2. I actually have a Laserdisc set of the original trilogy signed by Stallone.
Now, did you get that personally signed, or did you buy it signed?
No. It was part of, there was a run of Laserdiscs at one point, like a series where they were all signed, essentially. Okay. And they'd put out, like, they'd pick a classic series and they'd release it, but they'd all be signed. And it was one of those, anyway. But it was interesting watching those first 2 films again. The politics do not hold up, but especially when we get to Rambo 3, which let's just not go into. But I think Stallone's a great actor. I think he's got this. Everyone knows who he is, and they've got this gimmick. Everyone does the impression and all that. But I actually think he's like a fine actor. And First Blood's still a good film. First Blood Part 2, maybe not so much. But I'm sure they're all going to look like the fucking Godfather compared with this game when it arrives. As far as I remember, it's a light gun game that you can't use a light gun with. And
God.
And when you're not doing the rail shooter bits, it's just quick time event fight scenes.
Oh, it's great.
That is the most PlayStation 3 sounding game ever created.
And it's like we got like Stallone and Richard Crenna to do the voices, and that was pretty amazing because Richard Crenna had died 10 years before the game came out. But what it apparently is they've just like held the microphone up to the television and got the samples off like the movies.
That's great.
I thought you were going to say held a microphone up to a coffin then.
Yeah,
it's like, that's dark.
Look out for that. Look out for that hot review next Sunday.
Hey.
Monday, because we record this on Monday. That's when it goes up.
Yeah, that's the ticket. Okay, let's go. I'm very much looking forward to that, by the way. Very, very much. But let's go ahead and move on to Charlotte, who has been digging into Knights and Bikes.
It is we played it local co-op, and I would definitely recommend playing it co-op, whether it's local or internet. I don't see how it would be as enjoyable single player, really. You get a lot more out of it if you're playing it with somebody. So basically this is a adventure type game, sort of. Don't know how to describe it, really. You just you have little fight sequences, but you also go from you have to sort of navigate an area and lock areas to progress. And it is a story about a young child who is growing up in the 1980s in a town which is sort of based on, it's like Cornwall, but it's also off the coast. So it's like a little island where everything's a little bit So Cornwall in the UK has cultural things, and it makes references to similar things to what people from the UK know about Cornwall. So it's quite nice if you're from the UK to play it as well. And basically, this child has heard from her mother, who sadly passed away, that there's this story about buried treasure on the island, and because her dad's having difficulties, what with the mother passing away, she wants to get the treasure. And her and her friend go about trying to find this treasure, and they have to basically fight against cursed townspeople. And a lot of it takes place of you being on a bike. So you have little adventure sections where you can't be on your bike because you can't fit your bike through a certain area, but you have to find a way to get back to your bike to progress. And it's really fun. The exploring bit is really cool. You unlock different tools and weapons to help you fight the baddies or help you get from place to place. Like, my favorite unlockable is that you get a boombox, which you can basically do a power-up move, and it's a bit like the disco tool in Ratchet and Clank, where all the enemies start dancing and wear sunglasses if you blast them with it. It's great fun. It's I don't really know what to say. I'd say that maybe the final boss fight is unusually hard compared to everything else, but that's really nitpicking. Like, it took us a few times to finish that boss fight, but it wasn't like we were sat there for 3 hours or anything. But aside from that, I really don't have any criticisms of it. It was a very moving game without actually going over the top. There's a lot of really funny moments where the kids are just being kids and say stupid stuff. Yeah, it's a great game. It's 8 to 9 hours, and you can get it for, I think, $20 on Steam, or similar price on the PS Store. So yeah, definitely worth checking out, especially if you've got somebody to play couch co-op with.
I think it's on Switch as well, just for our listeners.
Yeah, that as well. Yeah.
I still haven't got around to playing it, but I covered it a lot before it came out. I wrote up all of the trailers and stuff. And for anyone who hasn't seen it, it has this it has almost like a paper cutout aesthetic to it, doesn't it? Like it kind of looks a bit like all the sprites and everything almost look like they've been cut out of crepe paper and layered onto the game, which is just like so like unique and charming.
Yeah, so to give a bit of background as well, it's I think it's produced by Double Fine, so Tim Schafer's involved in it, but also the team is made up of ex-members of Media Molecule, so it does really remind me of Tearaway. It's very much got the same aesthetic as Tearaway, so I actually need to go and look whether there's some like shared staff between the two.
If I remember it, doesn't it also has like its own like kind of charismatic goose character that unfortunately got pushed to the side in 2019 by a different goose. But I think this character, isn't he called something like General Honkers or something
Captain
like that?
Honkers,
Captain
yeah.
Honkers, yeah.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
The game kind of it's supposed to kind of have this appeal to that time in the 80s when you didn't have like phones, you didn't have the internet and stuff, and it was just you and your friends on bikes making up adventures, and that's kind of the heart of the game, really, isn't it? Yeah,
exactly. There's like I said, there's little funny moments, like they explain what a Cornish pasty is. And they have basically a quiz where you have to. So US listeners won't understand this without further explanation, I don't think. But it asks you with scones whether you put or scones, depending on where you're from in the UK, whether you put the jam on first or the cream on first, and that's like a long-running joke as to if you're from Devon, you do it one way. If you're from Cornwall, you do it the other way. If you're from Yorkshire, you just put butter on it and shove it in your gob. You don't care. But yeah.
Yes, us Americans get that.
Scones are like, or scones, depending on where you're from. They're a bit like sweet biscuits.
We have scones.
Yeah.
You do? Oh,
yes,
good.
Yeah, we do.
Oh.
And they are wonderful.
Yes. But Devon and Cornwall have this fight about which order you put the jam and the cream on, which is fucking stupid because it all tastes the same when it's in your mouth. But yeah, little inside jokes like that.
And that battle over how it's pronounced and the order you put the jam on, that's the single most important thing people need to be focused on in the United Kingdom right now.
Sounds like a real life version of the bitter butter battle.
The what?
Dr. Seuss book?
Nope, sorry.
Nope. All right. Add that to your list, Chris.
I'll put it right here under fucking green eggs and ham. Bitter, butter, battle. Stop listening to CJ.
There you go. That's the way to do it. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up with Occams. Occams, tell us about Warhammer Inquisitor Martyr Bitch Mother Child.
Yeah, it's Diablo set in the 40K universe.
Oh, okay.
It came out a while ago. But I just they keep updating it and adding stuff, and it's fun. I love the Warhammer 40K universe. I don't play the tabletop game because it's expensive and requires me to interact with other people and just all those reasons. But I always kept up with the lore, and and they just released an expansion called Prophecy, or at least it's somewhat recently released, and it lets you play as a tech servitor. Now, what's a tech servitor, right? Imagine you go to a mechanic, only the mechanic is like more car than man, or woman. Hashtag stay woke. And he worships the car as a god. That's kind of what a tech servitor is. But I really liked it because it's a pet class, and I'm a big ol' sucker for pet classes. I love having minions and yeah. So you can have like little robots with chainsaws and little like auto turrets with legs run around and fight stuff. And then so I was really excited for that. So just been playing that and listening to podcasts. And it's been pretty fun. It's not going to change the way you view the genre, but it is a fun game if you like 40K. I think it's on sale on the PlayStation Network right now, the whole kit and caboodle. There's like a million little DLC things, but you can just get the main game and have quite a good time. There's the other classes you can play as a Space Marine, as an assassin, or as a psyker, and they're pretty fun. So I highly recommend it. Yeah, I want to say it's like $5 right now on PSN. It's you can't go wrong with that.
It's not a bad deal. I do like the Diablo formula, and like you, pet classes are an instant win for me. So,
yep.
That said, I've never played a Warhammer game. I know nothing about the universe, so we'll see.
Oh yeah, it doesn't require a whole lot of investment in the world. I mean, it's bleak future, space marines, demons, stuff. But my favorite pet class so far has been the witch doctor from Diablo 3, because I have my setup right now. I constantly have a giant spider hanging out with me, and I can summon smaller spiders, and I have like 15 things just running around with me in the game. It's great. I got a goddamn baseball team just chilling with me, ready to fight stuff.
Yeah, if you like really get that build right for Witch Doctor, especially in like kind of the end game of Diablo 3, you can have like 25 minions running around with you, all totally different types, and little dudes with knives and giant golems and fucking spiders and all sorts.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I love that.
And they're all fighting, and you're just like sat back reading a magazine. It's wicked.
Yep. I have one of my little totems is I have a cat that I just hold up. And I just hold up my cat and show it to people while this giant spider just bites stuff in half. It's great.
This is Podtoid.
All right. That is it for games, which means it is time for the news. Oh, come on.
This is the news.
So I bought a new keyboard because I nearly broke my old one last week, and I decided to spend only $16 on it. And I don't know if you know this about $16 keyboards, but they will stop working from time to time for no goddamn reason. So I have to unplug it and plug it back in.
This is the news.
All right, we had a lot happen over the past 2 weeks, including a few presentations. Devolver did its usual shtick, although this time preventing the future, while also pointing out the futility of everything we do. Nintendo did not have a new Nintendo Direct, despite what some fake Twitter accounts told you, and Ubisoft had its first Ubisoft Forward presentation of the year, kicking it off with an extended look at Watch Dogs Legion, something, Chris, I know you enjoyed because of all the wonderful accents on display.
Oh, it's like, I can't think of I always try and be like, well, it's not for me, but it's fine for everybody else. Do you know what I mean? But I can't think of a game that I'm just less interested in.
How can you be less interested in it? It takes place in London, and you live near London. Ergo, you should be very excited.
Do you remember last year when they said it was set in a post-Brexit society? They didn't say that this year, did they? Like, I watched that video at the beginning, and you know I was kind of like annoyed by elements of it. CJ, we talked about it, and I do think it was well made. It was like a short film, wasn't it? And I do think it was well made. So kudos to the creator for that. But there was just something so just like starting off with the poem, as you say, and then it's like all kind of the British like iconography. Like you always get when WWE come to England and they wheel out their red phone box that we haven't had in fucking 40 years or whatever. And oh look, a mini. But they showed the game and they started showing like all these different characters you could play as in these classes. And that bit where they kept going, but maybe you'd want to play as this instead. That felt like it went on for 4 years.
Oh.
And I do appreciate the variety, but I just didn't think the game looked. There was like, it's full of ideas, but a lot of them kind of seem like other people's ideas. There's like a secret agent driving an Aston Martin, and there's a lot of oi oi punks, and there was. I think I told you this, EJ. There was like a mature gangster woman, and this is God's honest truth. Like this is straight up. She walked on screen and she's like wearing a suit and she's holding a cigarette. And I was like reporting on the show and she walked on screen and before she said anything, I just out loud said to the television, I'm taking over this fucking town. And then she opened her mouth and said like, oi, what are you wankers doing? I was like, there you go.
I almost expect the EastEnders theme tune to start ringing and like Pat Butcher to walk on or something.
But like, yeah, there's a real love at the moment. One of the Arkham games did it, and Fast and Furious did it. There's a real love at the moment for like older Helen Mirren gangster woman who swears a lot. That like character's turning up in like a lot of franchises at the moment.
I think Uncharted 3, that was the villain, right?
Really? Okay.
I think it was an older woman. Yeah.
But I'm not necessarily. Well, I'm not shitting on Watch Dogs Legion, other than I kind of am. But I don't. We've been hearing about it for a couple of years, and I just don't think it looks interesting. There's something about the visual style that I appreciate, and like the way they've made like London look. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't be less hooked in that game.
I will say the ray tracing video I saw after the presentation in 4K like is just fucking stunning. Like whatever it is they're doing in this game, they're at least making it something that if you have the high end equipment is going to be very pretty to look at. But I'm kind of right there with you.
It's the whole thing. It's the radio towers. It's that radio tower syndrome, isn't it? That Ubisoft open world. The big map, a million side quests, loose combat, stealth missions. They showed 4 games, and 3 of them were open world adventures with like side quests and a main storyline, and obviously I'll never like trash these people for their talent. Of course not. These people put a lot of work in, and they come up with this stuff and they program it and they code it and they draw these worlds, and I'm not knocking like the talent of these people, but I think what it was is that whole Ubisoft Forward was like it was the first possibility of the next generation, and it was 3 large open world Ubisoft games.
Charlotte, did you have a chance to watch the presentation?
Unfortunately not, but I heard a lot of what was going on, and yeah, you just kind of get fed up of hearing that Ubisoft wants to have its cake and eat it with being political and yet not political at the same time.
Occams, did you have a chance to watch it?
Yeah, I just didn't want to. It was just boring. I mean, it was an open world game. I got to find a tower, do that, do this. It like in the grand realm of video games is probably, other than sports games, which just aren't even there. It's not that they're bad. There's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
It is the least interesting thing happening in video games to me, and I find them so tedious and uninteresting. I just skipped it. I didn't care.
I think for me, somehow less interesting than Watch Dogs ended up looking was the hyperscape that is, for all intents and purposes, a battle royale that's just Ready Player One. Boy, did not anticipate that. Did not walk away from that trailer thinking, oh, yeah, I want to try that. Oh, that looks good. Who doesn't love Ready Player One? I definitely want a video game that's more or less just that.
Well, you got the sequel to the book coming out. It's Ready Player 2.
I don't think like we've ever brought that film up on this show, but like I hate it so much. I think it's a fucking abomination. I think it's a fucking abomination. I really do. It's awful shit. Terrible. There you go.
I know we've brought it up before because I definitely remember talking on this show about how stupid it is that the solution to the very first puzzle was to go backwards, and people couldn't figure that out for decades. Like, have you never met a gamer before? Have you never met anyone who the second they get plopped down in a level of Super Mario Brothers immediately try to run the opposite direction just in case there's a secret there? How fucking dumb are you?
For Ready Player One to work, we have to assume that there's no speedrunners in the future. Because they'd be like, he's put together these 10 challenges, and only that, and the speedrunner would be like, yeah, done them. Done. Figured it out. Sat down with it for an hour, found every gap, found every hole, found every broken bit of code. Where's I can't even remember what the prize was. It was you got to be in fucking charge or something, didn't you? Like, prize. Brilliant. Oh, that fucking movie. Oh,
responsibility. What a gift. And well, that's like, it goes back to that poem. The speedrunners were one of the first ones they came for, and we did nothing. So.
God. Yeah, the prize is you get to control the world's economy. What fucked up book is this? I don't understand it. Why do people like this? I will say that every time I see a new battle royale shooter come out, I always think back to Cliff Bleszinski and Radical Heights. Just, you just missed out there, didn't you, Cliffy B?
Is he still doing stuff?
I thought he left the business after the failure of both Lawbreakers and Radical Heights, but I think he just left game development, and he's still maybe in part of the industry. I'm sure he has enough money off of those goddamn Gears of War games to last him a few lifetimes. So
I can't knock the guy too much. I mean, he did give me the chainsaw gun, which is something Andy Dixon and I would, when we played, we would and people were like, we got to go run and do this thing. We got to go kill the locusts. And he and I would just chase each other and try to chainsaw each other, or just chainsaw enemies the entire time. It was great.
I will say for me, the kind of worst thing they showed at the Ubisoft Forward event was the Assassin's Creed Valhalla. First of all, the trailer just looked very unpolished and unfinished that they showed during the presentation. And then afterwards, they went into a gameplay walkthrough. And Chris, I told you about this, but they're showing a boss battle, and you have the female Viking who's armed with 2 axes fighting this guy and his dog. And I'm just watching this fight take place, and the Viking is dashing in, hitting them twice, and then doing 2 dashes away from them to get away from their return attack. And I'm just thinking, what is this? Is this how you think Vikings fought? This doesn't seem like it's authentic in any possible way. And the only reason I'm thinking that is because we've had all of these great games over the past 2 years, like Sekiro, like the recently released Ghost of Tsushima, that they have hand-to-hand or sword-to-sword combat that really feels weighted and authentic. And I'm just watching what they're doing in this presentation, wondering why it's okay to just carry on over this Ubisoft fighting formula to all these different time periods, as if the Egyptians fought the same way that the Greeks fought, that the Vikings fought, that the 15th century Italians fought, and wherever else. I can't remember all those games. There's been too many of them. And that to me was just like, this just looks uninteresting. This looks way more uninteresting than Watch Dogs. This just looks bad.
It's funny because I did see something similar in the trailer that just made me think about the game and the idea of making it with Vikings, because you have this character, is it Iva? I think that's how it's pronounced, or Ifor, and she looks fantastic. She's this stoic, strong woman, wailing on people with like double-headed battle axes. But then it's like, oh, but I've also got that little blade in my wrist, the Assassin's Creed blade, and it's the idea of a Viking going, "Good job, I've got that little blade." It's like I've got two fucking axes, and also I'm massive. Fuck off.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna stand on your head.
It would be great if, like in true Viking fashion, instead of being a tiny blade, it was like a tiny warhammer, and she just like hit him in the dick or something.
It's like you have these giant, massive Vikings who are also super nimble. Because I was watching the video again, and like they had this weapon and they were attacking a guy in close quarter combat, but then they'd go to their bow and start sniping out the archers up there, and like, is this fucking Legolas? What am I watching right now? This doesn't feel like a Viking.
I just want to have a giant hammer and just hit people in the head.
Well, then we need to tell Nintendo to bring back Project Hammer.
That was what all I did.
Old ass Wii reference.
Yes, it is. That's what I would do in Skyrim. I just made like an orc berserker with a hammer, and I would just hit things in the head and run around. It was great.
Finally, just real quick, the show wrapped up with a look at Far Cry 6 with Giancarlo Esposito of Monkey Bone fame. That's right, Monkey Bone. The game is going to take place on a Cuba-like island named Yara that's in the midst of a political upheaval that you will no doubt play a part in. If that sounds a bit too heavy of a subject matter for you, don't worry, because if you pre-order the game, you will get the disc-firing drone named Discos Locos and a wiener dog that looks like it has an engine for its hind legs. Just in case you thought Ubisoft was going to take itself seriously.
Isn't it called chorizo or something as well?
Yeah.
Oh god.
Chorizo, which
It's a very cute dog, but oh my god, that is just overkill. Oh my god.
CJ, I think you'll find that for that to be an odd juxtaposition, the game would have to be political, which it is not.
Oh, that's right. That's right. The game is not political, as we have seen countless times before from Ubisoft.
It's very strange. Like regarding the whole Ubi Forward thing, I wasn't expecting to only see like four games.
Yeah.
But it was very odd to basically have them say, there's a couple of heads here, and it's like the first is, it was very odd to have them say, here are our games moving into the next generation, and 3 of them are far down the line sequels, and they're all open world adventures with, you know, radio towers and side quests and X, Y, and Z. The other one's a battle royale title. Hooray for the future. And then on top of that, the more important thing of, after the week they had and the allegations that came out and the firings or being allowed to resign that was happening, they had no business going, let's all celebrate our like next 6 months of releases or whatever.
Right.
And I understand that there are plenty of people who aren't involved in that horrible situation who work on those games, and those people deserve their work to be seen and those games to be purchased and played and everything. But it was a real read the room situation on that weekend. And like the one game, I was going to just say, in the one game that you wanted to see, Charlotte, which is like Beyond Good and Evil, didn't even get a name check. Like,
what's happened to it? Like, wasn't it a big E3 game last year or 2018 maybe? Like, what's going on there? Yeah, what's happening?
That's a good question, because like, you know, that is a sequel that has been in the works for almost forever, for as long as I can remember. And in 2018, that was the showstopper to the Ubisoft presentation. Like, that was the last thing they showed, and it was like 20 minutes, and then poof, gone, nothing.
That's disappointing.
Ubisoft did say that it's going to have another Ubisoft Forward event this year, which I imagine they will use to show off the next Just Dance game, Tom Clancy's Quarantine, maybe something else for the next generation. Knock on wood, hopefully Beyond Good and Evil 2 will be there. It would be nice to know if that game wasn't canceled yet again, because it has been canceled in the past, and it certainly can be canceled again. Real quick, our second story has to do with the PlayStation. This week, it was reported that Sony is looking to double its output for the launch of the PlayStation 5 by having 9 million units or 10 million units ready by March 2021. A few months ago, it was reported that Sony was looking at 5 million consoles being ready at the same or in the same time due to the high costs of the parts. If it is able to get these out the door and into the hands of consumers, Sony just might have an even bigger launch on its hands than the PS4 gave them. But, we still don't know how much the PS5 and the PS5 all digital edition are going to cost. And I can tell you right now, I'm starting to get annoyed with Sony and Microsoft for holding these cards so close to their chest. Because we're like 125 days away from when these consoles are supposed to launch. And kind of the biggest deciding factor for me is price and whether I'm going to get it this year or if I'm going to wait for it a bit down the line.
$1,104.
Anyone want to go $1,103? Oh no, you go $5 for prices, right? Never mind, you go above. Yeah.
I'll bid $1.
Okay, you got $1. Yeah, I think Sony is a lot more confident with the PlayStation 5 given the feedback that they got from their big games presentation last month or last year. How long ago was that, Chris? Because it feels like it was a century ago.
The Sony thing. I don't know. Something about strawberries with eyes. I don't know.
Yeah, God. I think I was a toddler when that thing aired. Xbox has their first big games presentation of first-party titles this week. Maybe they'll mention how much their system's going to cost, but right now I think it's kind of all eyes are on Microsoft to see what they pull out here. So I'm excited to see it because I know they've been buying up all those studios for the past 3 years or so, and I want to see what they're doing. So
I happened to see on Friday that this might be old news, but Microsoft have officially stopped production on Xbox One now. There's no more being made. So what's out there is what's out there now, and they're focusing on Xbox One X production as of now.
They canceled production on the Xbox One X and the Xbox All Digital, I believe, and the only one they're still producing is the Xbox One S.
Oh, sorry, I completely. Oh God, what is the new Xbox called? Because I completely butchered that.
You got it right. It's the Series X.
Series X. Okay.
Yeah, so the Xbox One X is the more powerful version of the Xbox One. The Xbox One S is like the smaller version of the Xbox. It can get confusing, especially if you're not super familiar with the Xbox brand. But you are right. They did stop production on the Xbox One X, which I've always admired the engineering that goes into that, because if I'm not mistaken, that's water-cooled, which I've always, I have a PlayStation 4 that sounds like it's landing at LaGuardia every time I turn it on. So to have something not be powered by a rocket fan would be a nice change of pace. But they're putting all their eggs into the Xbox Series X and allegedly the Xbox Series S upcoming consoles.
Oh my God, this naming. Jesus, my brain is exploding.
I was going to say, if I had a time machine, there's a lot I could do. I could stop world wars, probably. Yeah. I could prevent a lot of terrible incidents that have happened in the world. I could turn things around. I could make things so much better for all of us. But I think probably all I'd do is I'd just go back to when the 360 came out and I'd just say, guys, Xbox 2.
Yeah.
Xbox 2 and take it from there.
The reason I got so confused and I obviously misinterpreted what I'd read as well is because I've never owned an Xbox, so I don't just know what these things are called out of the bat, and it's like PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4, PS5. Come on, this is easy stuff, and whereas Xbox, it's oh my God.
You either have to go the easy route like PlayStation did and just number them, or go the Nintendo route and just give them a completely different name every single time you release something.
Apart from the Wii U.
and the new Nintendo 3DS, yeah.
They learned their lesson with that Wii U, though.
Yeah, they did.
Because obviously, just in the time spent working in shops, I just saw it all the time. I saw it with the Wii U. I saw it with the new Nintendo 3DS. I saw it with the 2DS. And with Xbox, it's been all the time. Like, when the Xbox One came out, and then people came in from the 360 era and would say Xbox One, but they meant the original Xbox. But no one ever made these mistakes with PlayStation.
No.
Whether they were parents buying for kids or what, they always just knew, I want it for PS3. I want it for PS2.
Yeah, that's something I've always been interested in, is the kind of fly on the wall perspective of how the nomenclature occurs. You know, like how they determine these names. Like, because I mean, surely you start with a list, a very large list, I'd imagine, at least ideas, and then you narrow it down and it gets focus tested and run up to different channels. But I would love to know how they decided on these names, because it is very confusing, and it is. I consider myself someone who's fairly knowledgeable in video games, plays a lot, reads a lot of news about it. I couldn't tell you the difference in the Xbox name stuff, like for the consoles right now, and we just talked about it. Like it's just weird to me.
Yeah, Xbox have got a lot of ground to make back this coming generation, because stuff like this and also lack of exclusive titles and stuff has just really put a lot of people off. So.
Yeah. They have the most to prove. I think they have the biggest chip on their shoulder going forward. That's why I'm probably more interested in the Xbox stream than I am with any of the others that we've had this summer. Just because I want to see what they have been doing with all that money, with all those acquisitions.
Hopefully something, man. Because I want them to do well. I really want them to do well.
I think it's still like a fair comment to say that the last generation war quotes was like won and lost on the day that they came out and said you can't play pre-owned games on it.
Yep.
And even if things changed down the line, I know an abundance of people who once that presentation happened were just immediately just like, oh, I'm not interested. And they didn't look into things to see if they changed or if they improved. They already made their decision. So like this week's really important for Xbox, because it's already been proven that kind of one poorly received kind of full reveal is enough to basically like put you at the back of the queue for years.
We are just about out of time, but before we go, Occams, do we have a shout out this week?
Yeah, actually, I want to give a shout out to our own Chris Carter, reviews director and co-editor-in-chief. Every time a big game, or even a not so big game, comes out, Chris does these quick tips or essential tips for a game, and I'm looking at his Ghost of Tsushima one right now in preparation for when it arrives from GameFly for me. And man, I was thinking over the years how much like time and how many headaches and how many things Chris has saved me with these quick tips. They're great articles. I've gone back and referenced them many times. And so I just wanted to say thank you, Chris Carter. Those are great quick tip articles. Quick tip. That's just fun to say. So thanks for that, buddy. Appreciate it. So shout out to you.
And actually, I want to do a quick shout out this week as well to our listeners. We don't have that many, but I want to thank you all who tune in week after week. And specifically, I want to thank the person out there who listened to us on a Microsoft Zune. That is not a media player I expected to pop up in 2020. So big props to them for keeping that thing going. Microsoft Zune.
We're so hip.
Yeah.
I'm just like, is there any way anyone can listen to us on an N-Gauge? I hope so.
Hearing that someone listened to us on a Microsoft Zune is like finding out that someone downloaded our podcast from LimeWire. I mean,
Napster.
It's like the only person I know who owns a Zune is former President Obama. So I guess Obama listens to our podcast. Wow.
Yo, what up?
But yeah, thank you, person who listens on Zune. And that is it for this episode of Podtoid. On behalf of Charlotte, Chris, Occams, and myself, thank you for listening. And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean, or to the Destructoid YouTube channel.